It feels like the 20 years old, Gen Z, millennials, like I feel like, especially the Gen Z generation, they really are struggling with that social component. They all went through pandemic. Sometimes I just feel like they're so kind of closed off and just connected to their phone. What do you
Yeah,
think?
no, I agree 100%. I think, it's different than when you and I grew up,
Mhm.
when we didn't have internet, we didn't have cell phones,
Yeah.
so we were forced to be social and develop social skills. And I
Yeah.
think now in today's generation, they don't have to worry about that because everyone is connected via cell phone
Yes.
and
Yes.
so on and so
Mhm.
forth. So it's not surprising that you're telling me that
Right.
because
Yeah, it's a little bit, I mean, I guess I feel a little disappointed and like worried for them almost. Like, I don't know,
yeah, because
maybe.
how are they gonna succeed, like,
Mhm.
in the business world, for example, where you
Exactly.
have to be,
Right.
social, you have to have
Mhm.
presentation skills, you have to, be able to network with,
Mhm.
folks within the organization. Like, how are they gonna be able to manage that,
Right.
if they don't have those skills?
Right. Yeah, I know. I was chatting with a friend of mine. She's a manager, and she actually told me that when she was interviewing someone that had recently graduated from college, they had their parent with them on the interview. So, I mean, not that that's probably an extreme
I
situation or
read
example,
something like that. There
but
was an article that came up in my Facebook feed,
mhm.
and it was a bunch of percentages around how many Gen Z folks had brought their parents to interviews,
Wow.
and it was like actually quite high.
Okay.
And I was like, really? Because I would never even
Wow.
think of bringing
Yeah.
anybody to a
Right.
job interview. like,
Right.
like,
Yeah. I feel
like,
like our generation was just a lot more independent.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, more
yeah.
independent. I remember growing up, we would play kickball with all the neighbor families, and there
Oh,
would be
yeah.
like 30 of us out and just having fun and socializing. And I just feel like now that just does not happen as much. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So,
I mean, I feel old now talking about that, but yeah, but it is true. I mean, it's a totally different generation. And, the funny thing is when you're growing up, you're like, oh, I'm never going to be like that, or I'm never going to, you
hmm,
know what I mean? Like,
right.
my mom, when I was growing up, would always listen to music from her generation. And I'm
Okay.
like, okay, when I get older, I'm not going to be like that at all. I'm going to listen to all the current stuff and up to date with everything from a music
Hmm.
perspective. And now what do I listen to? Everything from my generation. So, I mean,
Well, I mean, that includes the 70s and 80s music, right?
yes,
Which
yes.
I just absolutely love the 70s and the 80s
Yeah,
for
yeah.
music. Yeah, for sure. Well, COVID really did kind of change the course of social development. It really changed our activities. I mean, everyone does so much more shopping online now.
Yeah.
There's Instacart. I mean, really, with all the delivery services, if you want, you really don't need to leave your house
No,
for anything.
no.
Yeah, which is a good thing for convenience. And then it's, I think, from a social perspective, a bad thing.
I feel like I'm an expert in this field because, I do DoorDash all the time and I do order from Amazon quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it is important to also support those local businesses
Mm-hmm.
as well. You need to get out of your comfort zone of being in your house all the time
Right.
and being able to shop local,
Right.
helps, not necessarily, donating bucks to the big box stores like, Target and Walmart and so
Mm-hmm.
on and so forth, but being able to support those local businesses, I think is extremely important.
Yeah, Tony and Jordan from Atlas will be on in just a
Hmm.
few minutes, and we're going to talk to them about the importance of shopping local.
Yeah.
It really can make a huge impact on the community, and so excited to chat with them in just a couple of minutes about that. Yeah, COVID really did change everything. When we think about working remote. Like,
Yeah.
I know prior to COVID, I would say the majority of folks did go into an office.
Yeah, I mean, my situation was a little bit different in
Mm-hmm.
that we were not required to be in the office 5 days a week.
Okay.
It was always, 3 days and then 2 days of your choosing.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So we had always had the hybrid
Mm-hmm.
type model.
Right.
And then when COVID hit, no one was going into the office, like you were 100% remote.
Mm-hmm.
And then slowly we're only required 2 days a week
Okay.
now, not three. And
Right.
that's simply because we don't have the space
Oh, okay.
um,
Interesting. Yeah.
to accommodate people being in 3 days a week. So I'm used to it.
Mm-hmm.
And, the only downside I think to it is, you miss that human interaction
Right. If you're working
if you're
from
working
home.
from home.
Yeah.
And I feel like I work more hours if I'm
Okay.
remote
Okay.
versus if I'm in the actual office.
Well, there's so much controversy about that. I mean, if you're a remote worker, are you working more hours? Are you working less? And honestly, I think it's a mixed bag.
Yeah.
I think some people are working very minimal, and I think some people, like you said, are working way more than 40 hours a week.
Yeah. Well, companies now have software installed where
Right.
they can track how long you're logged in.
Yeah, I'm sure
And
they can track your
and they can track your
keystrokes,
keystrokes,
websites
what
visited.
programs you're spending time in, so on
Mhm.
and so forth. And that
Right.
is the case in my
Okay.
employer. So we have to be, we can't get away with that
Mm-hmm.
where I work
Right.
because they're tracking all that. And there's actually a report that gets
Oh,
sent to your
interesting.
manager
Okay.
that kind of shows
Your productivity.
from a team perspective what the productivity is, what
Okay.
websites have been accessed, what
Wow.
programs are being used, so
Okay.
on and so forth. So I think, it's kind of a double-edged sword. In a way, you kind of feel like we're all adults. Do we need to be, babysat like that?
Right.
But then I can also see the point of, there are going to be people that take advantage
Yeah. Yeah,
of
for
that.
sure. Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it's interesting because there are those folks that are very lenient with the work from home, and then
yeah.
they'll dial into a meeting and they're going through the car wash, or they're like waiting for their car to get their oil changed. So I don't know. I'm very old school. My work ethic is pretty much I don't know, like very like traditional. Like I log in at 8 o'clock, I log off at 5 o'clock. I work, 40 hours a week. I don't go out to pick up lunch. I don't go out to run errands. I'm in front of my computer the entire work time.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more flexible when it comes to that.
Mhm.
But my role, as you know, is a little bit different. So my
Yeah.
role is global.
Right.
So that
Well,
requires
your hours are
me.
all over the
Yeah, so
place.
my hours are all over the place because if I
Mhm.
have to talk to Asia,
Right.
obviously I've got to be up like super early in the morning.
Yeah.
And then I'll accommodate that by, maybe I'll log off around 3 o'clock or 3:30
Mhm.
or, so on and so forth. Or, if I have a doctor appointment, maybe I'll put in some hours over the weekend,
Right.
type thing. So my hours are a little bit more flexible than that. I'm not
That's
as
nice.
rigid as
Yeah.
that. So, as long as you have the total amount of time of login hours that
Right.
you need and
Yeah.
you're showing that you're actually productive and that you're
Mhm.
actually working
Right.
per the reports, then you're good. It doesn't matter what the hours are.